Hello student, myself Kuhu Sarkar. Today I'm going to continue my series of Let's Discuss PI quiz. So here I took um, 2020's question paper from morning shift and the English question paper. So I already had done 48 questions, and if you did not follow me, please subscribe my channel. And if you want this useful PDF, you can join my Telegram channel. I will share the Telegram channel link to the description box. Okay, so let's start. Which two poems in the following list are example of dramatic monologue? And our answer will be 4. Mean A and C. Alfred Tennyson's Ulysses and Carol and Duffy's Medusa. Dramatic monologue means self-conversation, speech and or talks which include interlocutor presented dramatically. It means a person who is speaking to himself or someone else speaks to reveal specific intentions of his actions. Alfred Tennyson's Ulysses 1855 and Carol and Duffy's Medusa are examples of dramatic monologue. So these are dramatic monologue. Example of dramatic monologue. Let's see the next question. Question number 50. Who makes the following speech in Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot? Astride of a grave and a difficult birth, down in the hole, lingering the grave digger puts on the four caps. So here the answer will be 3. Vladimir. You know that Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot is an absurd play. The most famous and most critically acclaimed work of Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot was produced in 1953. The setting is sparse, almost vacant, and the characters are two tramps, Vladimir and Estragon, who do little except wait. So they are just waiting for Godot on the two successive nights for someone who never appears. While waiting, they engage in a series of apparently random discussions, some involving philosophy, a variety of antics, from taking off their shoes to eating a carrot that seem vaguely reminiscent of a comedy routine of a or a uh, vaudeville act. So they are doing random things. They are doing absurd things, they are speaking absurd thing, and sometimes they were speaking in speaking something philosophical, something biblical, and most of the time they are doing absurd things. At the end of the play, Vladimir offers a grim vision of human life, saying, "Astride of a grave and difficult bar down in the hole, lingering, and the grave digger puts on the forceps." So at the end, Vladimir spoke this line. Okay, so let's see next question. Question number 51. Which of the following are the major themes in William Congreve's The Way of the World? And the answer will be two, mean love and intrigue. William Congreve's Way of the World, which was published in 1700, is a delicate handling of the love games as played by Mirabell and Millamant. Sorry, one second. Okay, so they present the ideal of the romantic restoration attitude, intense yet balanced their love based on mutual esteem with no surrender and individuality. So you know that in restoration plays, the most of the themes of the plays are love and intrigue, sometimes jealousy, sometimes slanders attitude, right? They are doing uh, there is no place for morality or virtue in their place, right? So they present the ideal of the restoration attitude, intense yet balanced their love based on mutual esteem with no surrender of individuality. Everyone is engaged in intrigue, so everyone is engaged in intrigue. Mirabell intrigues to gain consent to the marriage for Lady Whisper, and this involves intrigue within intrigue. So this involves intrigue within intrigue. Everyone is selfish here, and everyone is doing marriage for not for just love, but for something they can gain. For he does not trust wait well. Fainall intrigues in turn. Everyone is involved in one of the other of these schemes. Mrs. Fainwell, Mrs. Marwood, and the servants, everyone. Even Lady whispered in her willingness to marry Sir Rowland has a devious purpose, revenge on Mirabel. So you know that Sir Rowland is actually in disguise of his disguise. He is actually a servant. When Mrs. Fainwell married her husband, that was part of an intrigue. It was also an intrigue, and as was his marriage to her. As we see in the play, Victory Gone goes to Mirabel not because of his virtue, because not because he is virtuous or moral, but because simply because he is more successful intriguer. I mean, who is more clever, they can win the game. Okay, so let's see the next question. 52, chronological order. You have to um, arrange it in chronological order, and the answer will be: first, The Country Wife is a restoration comedy written in 1675 by William Wycherley. All for Love is a 1677 heroic drama by John Dryden. Venice Preserved is an English restoration play written by Thomas Otway. It was first staged in 1682. The School for Scandal is a comedy of manners written by Richard Brinsley Sheridan. It was first performed in London on 8 May 1777. So the answer will be first, The Country Wife, which was published 1675, then All for Love by John Dryden, then Venice Preserved by Otway 1682, and then School for Scandal. It then see the next question, 53. Question number 53. A research hypothesis is, and the answer will be P and D. A provision, explanation of anything, and a statement which is assumed to be true for the sake of argument. So hypothesis is usually considered as the principal instrument in research. Its main function is to suggest new experiment and observation. A hypothesis may be defined as a proposition or a set of propositions. According to Chambers' 20th century dictionary, hypothesis is a supposition, a proposition assumed for the sake of argument, a theory to be proved or disproved by reference to fact, a provisional explanation of anything. The Oxford Reference Dictionary defines a hypothesis as a proposition or supposition made from known facts as the basis for reasoning and investigation. So this is the definition of hypothesis. Let's see the next question. Question number 54. On December 11, 1823, Raja Ram Mohan Roy addressed a letter to the British authority which pleaded for modern Western education and is considered historically important for the introduction of English education in India. So, who was the letter addressed to? And the answer will be 1. Lord Armhurst. So, you know that Raja Ram Mohan was in favor of the education of Western education, in the favor of English education. The education divided in two way. First is Oriental, and other is Oriental mean traditional, and other is English, right, or Western. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy was in favor to spread Western culture in India. So that's why he wrote a letter to Lord Armhurst. On 11th December 1823, Raja Ram Mohan Roy wrote to Lord Armhurst that education of Sanskrit language and Sanskrit literature would do nothing and had no practical use. He was in favor of Western literature because he wanted to sweep away the superstitions, the sati pratha, the marriage rituals. He want to the sweep away the superstitions, right? So later he requested him to promote the Western education in India. He felt that the youth could not adapt themselves according to the changing societies if they cling to the old Vedantic philosophy or doctrines. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was the chief advocate of the modern process of education and scientific learning in India. So let's match question number 55. Mongoose. Mongoose is taken from Marathi word mongoose. The term is used to identify carnivorous animal known for its ability to kill poisonous snake. Loot is taken from Hindi word loot, which again has an origin from Sanskrit lotra. Then curry is taken from Tamil word curry, and beetle is taken from Malayalam language. Let's say the question number 56. Who is the author of a fragment on the earliest vampire stories in English? And the answer will be Byron. So, fragment of a novel is a unfinished 1819 vampire horror story written by Lord Byron. The story, also known as a fragment and burial, a fragment was one of the first in English to feature a vampire theme. Let's say question number 57. Which one of the following best explains the term paralanguage? And the answer will be two. Mean the way in which people show that what they mean other than the by the word they use. So how your gestures matter here, right? So paralanguage refers to the non-verbal elements of speech, such as vocal speech, intonation, speaking tempo, that can be used to communicate attitudes. So that can be used to communicate attitudes, convey emotions, modify meaning. In simple terms, paralanguage can be taught as how something is said rather than what is said. So how you said some things, your expressions matter. Let's see the next question, question number 58, and the answer will be let's me read the question first. Who among the following was the first director of Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages, Hyderabad, now EFL University? And the answer will be 3, mean CJ Deswani. The English and Foreign Language University in Hyderabad was founded in 1958 as the Central Institute of English. The mandate of the university is to advance and disseminate instructional research and extension facilities in the teaching of English and foreign language and literature in India. So, let's see the next question, question number 59. Arranged in chronological order. And here preface to lyrical ballads, defense of rhyme, life of Cowley, and frontier of criticism. So first will be Samuel Daniels. The defense of rhyme was published in 1503. Then Samuel Johnson's Life of Cowley from Samuel Johnson's Life of the Poets series, published in 1779 to 1781. Then the preface to the lyrical ballads and by William Wordsworth, and the last will be T.S. Eliot's Frontier of Criticism, which was published in 1956. So first the Defense of Rhyme by Samuel Daniel, then Life of Cowley by Samuel Johnson, then the preface to the Lyrical Ballad by William Wordsworth, and at last the Frontier of Criticism, which was published in 1956. Let's see the assertion and reasoning question. The introduction of English in India was primarily for the benefit and consolidation of British power. Okay, right. And English created to the social economic aspiration to the emerging middle class and urban elites in India. So the answer will be that both statements are right but not logically connected. Right? The introduction of English in India was primarily for the benefit and consolidation of a British world. It is true. But English created to the social and economical aspirants of the emerging middle class and urban elites. It is also true, but these two statements are not connected. right? So the answer will be 2, mean A and R is true, but R is not correct explanation of A. So answer the question number 61, arrange the following novelist in chronological order. So but the answer is here is wrong. um, so I skip this question, you can read it by your own. So question number 62, give statement wise question. So consumption is an outcome of self interest and maximization of personal pleasure. There are strong correlation between social status and such things as housing style, musical states, and food preferences. So the answer will be both statements are true, because consumption is an outcome of self-interest, yes, and maximization of personal pleasure, true, that consumption is an outcome of self-interest, right, and maximization of personal pleasure, you can, it is a maximization of personal pleasure, your personal pleasure. uh, they are strong correlation between there are strong correlation between social status and such things as housing style, music taste, and food preferences. So it is also true. So let's see the next question. Question number 63. uh, which of the following is correct about Sassou's analysis of language? And the answer will be 1. Langu is a system of language. True. So, deriving from French la language meaning tongue, language refers to a language in its entirety. And entirety means the whole. At any one point in time, it includes the rules and convention of its use, rules which pre-exist individuals users. It is the determining element of language characteristics that make it active nature. In contrast to parole, translated from French la parole, meaning speech or word. So, what is parole? Parole is the performance, like Noam Chomsky said, that competence and performance. How the individual use language is called parole, and what is the whole rule when you learn the whole rule of using language, the total rules and the total system of language is called langu. So here in here they said that in contrast, parole translated from French la parole and meaning speech or word, how individual use it, refer to the individual utterance of written or spoken language that passively adhere to the rules of the language. Ultimately, the distinction between language and parole is a distinction between code and message, structure and performance. So, it is the difference between structure and performance. The whole structure is langu and performance is parole. Let's see the next question. Question number 64. What game do the characters play in Act 2 of Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party? And the answer will be 3. Blind Man's Buff. So, you know that Harold Pinter's Birthday Party is a comedy of menace. In the second act of Harold Pinter's Birthday Party, the character play man's bluff, especially because it makes them nostalgic. But the sinister side of such nostalgia is inescapable in the stage image of Stanley preparing to rape Lulu. Nostalgia is lovely to feel. The play seems to suggest a but more insidious in its complexity. So there is another question about birthday party in this question paper itself, right? The comedy of meanings question. So let's see the question number 65, the deductive method. So the deductive method mean general truth, mean general to specific. Inductive mean specific to general, and deductive means specific general to specific. Here a theory is given and you have to identify the specific examples with the theory. So it is a upward, not downward theory, right? The main difference between inductive and deductive reasoning is that inductive reasoning at developing a theory, while deductive reasoning aims at testing a existing theory. I mean, you have to test the existing theory. Inductive reasoning moves from specific to specific observation to a broad generalization, mean specific to general, and deductive mean the other way around, means general to specific. The next question, question number 66. Which two of the following are best evoked by Hamlet's utterance to be or not to be? So the answer will be 1, mean A and D, between life and death, and between doing or abstaining from doing. So one of the best soliloquies in English literature, to be or not to be, is Hamlet's contemplation about life and death. It signifies to live or not to live, mean to live or to die. Hamlet examines how excruciatingly painful and hopeless human life is, and how death, especially suicide, how would be preferable. So would it be for the frightful certainty or a frightful uncertainty of what comes after suicide? To quote to be or not to be also signifies action versus inaction. So it also signifies action versus inaction. You should do or you should not to do. Hamlet wrestled with whether to act or not. It perhaps one of the greatest challenges we face every single day in our life, right? What to do, when to do it, never sufficient opportunity or time, and the tormenting question about how will it be received regardless of whether what we do is good enough or not. So it is the best soliloquies by Shakespeare. So let's see the question number 67. You have to add a match it. So George Orwell, first George Orwell, what why I died. Michael de Monte, Michael de Monte of Cannibals, Charles Lamb on the artificial comedy of the last century, and Jonathan Swift, most important, a proposal, modest proposal. So Charles Lamb's essay on the artificial comedy of the last century, 1822, both helped revive interest in restoration comedy and anticipated the assumption of aesthetic movement of the 19th century. So it is important as it shows the aesthetic movement of the 19th century. Why I Died by George Orwell, written in 1946, detailing his personal journey to be a writer. So it is an important essay. A modest proposal, also important, is a satirical essay written and published anonymously by Jonathan Swift in 1729. Of Cannibals is an essay by Michael de Monte describing the ceremony of the Tupinamba people in Brazil. So, of Cannibals by Michael de Monte. Let's see the next question as a reasoning question. So, uh, signs are neutral or innocent. In all cases, signs are organized into a system that conveys something, some meaning. So, answer will be one. Means both are correct. So, but the answer here is wrong, so I will skip the question. Let's see the question number 69. Harold Skimpole is a character in Bleak House. The answer will be Bleak House. So Harold Skimpole is a friend of Mr. Jarndyce, who calls himself a child and claims to have no idea about time and money. Mr. Skimpole borrows money liberally and with no thought of repaying it. He eventually betrays Mr. Jarndyce by telling Inspector Bucket that Joe is in the stable at Bleak House. Let's see the next question. So, Skimpole is a character from Bleak House. Let's see the next question. Question number 70. According to his essay, Civil Disobedience, what two things did Thoreau learn from the night of night he spent in jail? And the answer will be 2. Means A and C, that he includes that state is ultimately weak, and he realized that neighbors are only friends during good times. So let's see. Civil Disobedience is an essay by American transcendentalist David Thoreau, and that was first published in 1849. In his essay, Thoreau observed that only a few people, heroes, martyrs, and patriots, reformers in is the best sense, serve their society with their conscience, and so necessarily racist society for the most part are commonly treated by its as enemies. So here we see that he said that only heroes, martyrs, and patriots only serve the society. Thoreau, so they treated as its enemies. Thoreau, for his part, spent time in jail for his protest. By his experience, he concluded that the state is ultimately weak and realized that neighbors are only friends during good times. And you know it better, right? So, Thoreau's teaching of passive resistance, which we also see in Mahatma Gandhi's Hind Swaraj, as described in Civil Disobedience, was adopted by Gandhiji. So Gandhiji also adopted it. So let's see the next question. Question number 71. So, which two of the following inspired the rise of periodical essay? And the answer will be, you know, that Michael Monte and Bacon. Bacon is generally credited with introduction and popularized formal essay in English-speaking world. Bacon was influenced by French essayist Michael de Monte. Montes first used the term essays mean attempts to describe his purpose, reflection of ordinary topics. Let's see question number 72. Arrange the following chronological order in chronological order. And the first will be Course in General Linguistics, which published in 1916, is a book compiled by Charles Bailey and Albert Sikhay. Then How to Do Things with Words by 1955, 1962 is perhaps by J.L. Austin's most influential work. So, How to Do It Words by J.L. Austin. Then Aspects of the Theory of Syntax is a book by linguistics written by Noam Chomsky, first published in 1965. So Aspects of the Theory of Syntax by Noam Chomsky, published in 1965, and Umberto Eco's famous work, Semiotics and the Philosophy of Language, which was published in 1984, comprehend the entire tradition of the doctrine of science, threading its way through the symbolic and allegorical reading. So, Umberto Eco's Semiotic and the Philosophy of Language. Let's see the 73 question. As mentioned in my first acquaintance with poets, which poet does William Hazlitt described as only person I have ever knew who answered the idea of a man of genius? And the answer will be Coleridge. In my first acquaintance with poets, Hazlitt described his factual meeting with poets William Wordsworth and Samuel Coleridge, and said in 1798 he describes how he traveled under harsh weather condition on for just so he could hear the poet Coleridge. In his depiction, Coleridge was a man who has the power to paint imagery with words, and Hazlitt was so impressed by his way of preaching that he ended up fixing a meeting with the author. So he was very much influenced, or we can say that impressed by Coleridge. At this meeting, he encountered William Wordsworth also, and he Hazlitt wrote, "But I may say of him here that he is only person I ever knew who answered to the idea of a man of genius. He is the only person whom I ever learned anything." So let's see the next question, question number 74. So who among the following is known for the popularize the term globalization? So what is globalization? Mean global plus localization, local, global plus local, and the term by Robert Roland Robertson. Globalization is a combination of the word globalization and localization. It is adaptation of global and internalized products into the local context they are used and sold in. In globalized thing, how we use in local area. The term was coined in the Harvard Business Review in 1980s by the sociologist Roland Barthes, who wrote the globalization that meant that the simultaneity the co-presence of both universalizing and particularization tendencies. So how we use the universal thing in particular area, it is called globalization. Let's see the next question, the last question for today, 75. About post-structuralism. So definition will be three. Apprehension of reality is contrast. The term post-structuralism is used to describe those kind of thinking and writing that disturbs and exceeds the merely uh, rational or scientific self-assertly systematic work of structuralists. It is primarily associated with Derrida, Lacan, Foucault, Deleuze, and Guattari, Kixu, Barthes also. Post-structuralism entails a rigorous and, in principle, interminable questioning of everything centralism. Means it reject the centralism. Mean like logocentrism, ethnocentrism, etc. of all origins and ends. Meaning an intention, paradigm, or system. According to post structuralism, criticism, apprehension of reality is a contrast. So, about mm, according to post structuralism, that apprehension of reality is construct. There are three basic assumptions of structuralism that knowable structures underlie empirical events. Second, no knowledge operates according to procedures that are axiomatic and not open to question. Reality is not radically contingent, not a play of forces without order of a series of accidents or events without meaning or logical sequence. So they reject these three. So and that's all for today, and if you like my video, please show your supports. So thank you very much. Bye.